I'd like to now introduce your third student speaker, Shawn Miller of Shoreline, who is fulfilling a lifelong dream by earning his BA in Interdisciplinary Education K through 6. He recently got a job at Cedar Crest Academy in Redwood, Washington, and he credits WGU Washington for allowing him to work full-time while going to school and looking after his young family. We're very proud that you're here tonight and that you have achieved your dream. I welcome Scott.
Before I begin, I'd like to thank God, my family, and everyone who helped create WGU Washington. Without all of them, I wouldn't be here today. I'd like to tell you a little story today about a young father who held his baby daughter for the first time and made a promise to her. It was a little past 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and the hours-old baby nestled in his arms, napping away, had already changed his life immensely. He sat thinking about the past. One day in particular kept replaying in his mind. He could remember it vividly. He sat across from the advisor and listened to the horror stories about teaching. Teachers work long hours, get paid horribly, and teaching as a career choice is not a good idea. That's what the advisor had told him. With his passion for teaching all but snuffed out, he tried the communications degree that the advisor had suggested, only to become frustrated with the classes. The young man dropped out and had given up on the idea of getting a degree. Now, nearly 7 years later, with his little baby girl in his arms, he had come to the realization that he should have many years ago. The young father had a gift and a passion for teaching. He had a desire to help the next generation, including his daughter, prepare for the future ahead of them. The young father kissed the baby girl's forehead and whispered a promise to her. His daughter's birth had spurred him to do what he should have done from the very start. He promised her that he would complete his degree and become a teacher, so that when she grew up, she would be able to say, "Someone cared about my generation," so that his daughter could look up to her father and be proud to say, "That's my dad." Recalling the past with his baby in his arms was just the start of a long journey. It would not be without trials. As the baby girl grew, the young father attended school, first at the local community college, then the big university. The first big challenge came when the university canceled their nighttime classes for education majors. The young father was rattled, but he refused to give up on his promise. The young father now had 2 children he had made his promise to. He had to find a way to take the classes at night so that he could keep his job and still spend time with his growing family. He searched and researched until he found WGU. WGU was the perfect solution to the big problem that the young father faced. He could go to school, keep his job, and spend time with his kids. The father enrolled and continued on his journey toward a degree and a teaching job. Things were going great, but as we all know, life is full of surprises. Less than 6 months before the completion of his degree, their world would once again be turned upside down. The school district that the young father was working for withdrew their offer for him to student teach, and they were going to have to cut his pay. The young father once again refused to give up on his promise. He contacted the placement specialist and worked with them until a placement in a Washington State private school was arranged. The young father packed up his family in 8 suitcases and moved them to Washington, where he could complete his degree. 6 months later, the young father opened his mailbox to find the degree that he had worked so hard to obtain. It had taken nearly 10 years since he first stepped into that advisor's office, but the first part of his promise had been kept. In case you haven't figured out, this story is about me. I'm happy to say that not only was I able to keep the first part of the promise to my children, but I'm actively keeping the second part of the promise I made to them. No doubt many of you made a promise either to yourself or someone you love to reach this day. During our journeys, how many of us face challenges, both big and small, that would have stopped us in our tracks if we were at a traditional university? WGU Washington gave us the hope and the support we needed to overcome the obstacles that we face. Whether that support came from mentors like my own, Dr. Manny Vasquez and Susie Richards, or from the WGU Washington community of students, We are all here today because we have completed a part of our journey. Without the unique and successful formula that WGU has, would I be here today? Would any of us? I can honestly say that without WGU, I wouldn't be here. To anyone wondering how a WGU Washington degree can serve you in your career, I can confidently say that WGU does not just produce graduates. The university produces professionals who have truly mastered the knowledge required for their field. We repeatedly prove that not only do we know the material, but that we can rise above and stand atop any challenge that we are presented with. A WGU Washington graduate comes into the workforce ready to contribute when many others can only consume. When someone asks me where I graduated from, I will proudly say WGU Washington. When they ask why I chose education, I will humbly say, because I made a promise that I had to keep. Congratulations to each and every one of us. Stand and be proud, and remember that education is life itself.